Om Namo Narayana, Om Namah Shivaya, Shiva Om, Shiva Hum, Om. Welcome to another Satsang with your host, Chuck the Yogi from the Yogi Cave. I wasn't able to do the Satsang yesterday because I got the second vaccine yesterday and kind of left me under the weather, so to speak, and I'm still under the weather, but I'm well enough to do a 10-minute presentation. All right, so where was we? Let's see, 3.5. This one's a mouthful. Nadisam harabhuta ya bhuta kaivalya bhuta purita ktvani. Translation: stoppage of the nadis, subtle energy currents, control of the elements, withdrawal of the mind from the elements, and separation of the elements into pure consciousness should all be brought about by yoga. That's the translation. Commentary: the nadis are considered by the Sanatana Dharma to be subtle energy currents that irradiate throughout the whole body. There are said to be 72,000 subtle currents in the body, very much like the way the Chinese view the meridians. The number is largely symbolic, since 7 plus 2 equals 9. 9 is the supreme number of the Shakti. She represents all things that can be found in the sandbox, that is, our cosmos, both gross and subtle. Control and withdrawal from the elements are effective through different yogic techniques. The importance of the process is that it is an interior leaning practice, an involution. The materialists and scientists largely look outside for answers. The yogi seeks within to find the ground of being of his very self. Jai Magan. It's kind of self-explanatory. 3.6. Moha Varanat Siddhi. Translation: supernormal powers are due to the veil drawn by ignorance. Commentary: again, the sutra talks about the pitfalls of acquiring powers or siddhis. Scripture focuses on this a lot, since it can be a major pitfall for sadhakas and yogis. It is real easy to become complacent and settle into a place of power. Satan offered Jesus powers and riches. It is easy to be seduced by such things and remain complacent by those things. Mindful of this pitfall, the sadhaka skillfully applies himself to avoid complacency and excessive reliance on special abilities and powers. Jai Magan. So, again, talking about the seduction, the Maya seduction of power, because most people would be satisfied with wealth and status and all this other stuff, right? But yogis, mystics, wizards, they're into the finer things. I mean, riches are fine, but we're talking about finer things. Power. Anyway, real power. Not the sham power of this world. Anyway, 3.7. Maha Jayad Ananta Bogat Sahaja Vidya Jayaha. Translation: the knowledge of reality is attained only by conquering that delusion completely. And commentary: this is referring to the need to transcend the need for siddhis or powers, to avoid becoming even further deluded by Maya's allure. Jai Makan. So it has to be transcended. You have to transcend and you have to include. That doesn't mean that the yogi is afraid to use powers or anything like that. That's not the point. It's like Vimalananda said, you have to own it. It can't own you, right? So that's the bottom line. Anyway, 3.8. Jagrat Dvitiya Karaha. Translation: he is awake who sees the outer world as his own light. Commentary. The yogi that sees himself as one and the same with all that which surrounds him cannot feel lost or incomplete. So we're talking about wholeness here, right? The idea of holiness comes from this term of wholeness, which includes all things, the light and the shadow. Anyway, he can only feel fulfillment and unconditional surrender to what is at any given moment. A very Taoist kind of point of view. This sense of surrender, which what Islam means, surrender, transcends that of the dualists. Islam is mainly dualistic, except for the mystics, which surrender to their version of God. The non-dualist merges with that God and becomes one and the same with his or her creation. As Jesus said, I and my Father are one. Jai Manga. So there's different variants of how to go about things, right? There's those that want to forever remain themselves. That would be more in the left-hand path. There's those that want to completely surrender and merge with the Godhead. That would be more the straight right-hand path. So you have the crooked left-hand path, and then you have the straight right-hand path. But in the end, all roads lead to Rome. I'm not going to get into that too deep. 3.9, Nantaka Atma. This is a beautiful one. Translation: the self is a dancer. Commentary: the image of the dancer evokes one of Shiva's great archetypes as the lord of the dance. He's the lord of the drum, he's the great musician, but he's also lord of the dance, the original rock and roller, the original rebel, without a cause. Modern scientists that smash particles see these interactions between particles as a dance, rightfully so. All creation is a dance of particles, waves and frequencies, and they all follow patterns. Jai Maka. 3.10 Rango Entaratma. Translation: the inner self is the stage. Commentary: stage is the mind of the jiva. It's not out there somewhere. It's in here. And when I mean in here, I don't mean necessarily the brain. The way I look at it, the brain is a receiver of a field of consciousness. All his or her thoughts and feelings are actors on the stage. So, this is where strange therapies like psychomagic comes in, where Jodorowsky, the great genius, employs psychodrama and ritual in order to enact change, because it's all up here, it's all in the mind, and people out there, circumstances out there are just reflections of that. And it works, I know. I've tried it. I had a guinea pig, I tried it, and it was spectacular. It worked beautifully. But the idea is very important. This is why yogis look in here and not out there like the scientists do. Nothing wrong with looking out there somewhere, but out there is just reflection of in here. As above, so below. As within, so without. 3.11 Parakshakani Indriyani. Translation: the senses are the spectators. Commentary: senses take information from the so-called outer world and translate it into the mind of the jiva. They are the intermediary between jiva and Shakti's creation. Jai Maka. So again, we go to the double slit experiment, which hasn't been fully understood even after a century. And there's this immediate interaction between the observer and that which is observed. This is why when you do this is why scientists do double-blind experiments with humans, because if they know the intricacies of the experiment, it will change the outcome of the experiment. So I'm not going to get too deep into that, But there is a direct correlation, immediate, between the observer and that which is observed. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. As you can tell from my voice, I'm hanging in there, but still, you can hear it. Anyway. Om Namo Narayana. Om Namah Shivaya. Shiva Om. Shiva Hum. Jai Ma. Jai Mahakal. Till next time.